And now it's my pleasure to introduce our panelist for today's broadcast, Saul Howerton. Saul serves as Global Chief of Staff of Advisory Services for Radius. With more than 18 years of global operations experience, Saul helps his customers succeed quickly and successfully in their chosen global markets. Prior to joining Radius, Saul was Senior P&L Analyst at Intel Corporation, where he was responsible for analyzing business trends, reporting quarterly results, and forecasting volume, price, cost, and inventory for key product lines. Saul has an MBA in Finance and International Banking from Santa Clara University and a Bachelor's of Business Administration in Marketing from University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. Over to you, Saul.
Thanks, Ed, and thanks to all of our attendees today. I'm looking forward to reviewing with you all a bit more about winding down operations internationally. From an agenda standpoint, I plan to go over just the overall winding down process. We'll also cover off some high-level considerations for prior to winding down and starting that process. We'll provide you with a framework to guide you through this process. And then we'll wrap up with a bit of some case studies for a few examples, as well as some Q&A. So we'll start today with some commentary that perhaps may not be music to your ears, but in reality, the winding down process is often not as simple as it sounds. There's a few initial points here to cover off. One of the things that we often run against with our clients is that in reality there are many steps in this process. So it's not as simple as perhaps just filing an application with the commercial registry, and then you can just move on and the entity is dissolved. In reality, there are a lot of steps in this process. Anytime, and I'm sure most of you have experience with this, anytime you involve the local authorities, regardless of the country, it's going to be a process that's not exactly expedient. In addition to that, we often talk through some of the costs associated with this winding down process. We often find that it's not as cheap as you may think either. So you may actually find that the cost is relatively similar to what you find from a setup process. Some of the reasons for this, that may be that you have to get your company fully up to date with any tax filings, corporate compliance, payment of all your taxes, and that process itself can take some time and obviously can be costly. And in addition to that, you may find in certain countries you also do need to have an audit of the final set of financial statements. So the combination of those things really kind of get us to a point of the process taking quite some time. And we certainly don't want to forget either the HR considerations. So we're going to go through a few different of the considerations there in a bit, but those often are ones that come to us before we actually even get to the wind down process. As an example for you, initially here, within Germany, if you were to take a look, for example, at the number of steps involved in a voluntary dissolution of a solvent, and I say that because that actually means it should be a little more straightforward. If you were interested in winding down a solvent German GmbH subsidiary per Section 60 to 77 of the Germany Limited Liabilities Company Act, you could be looking at somewhere around 17 steps. So you can see that very quickly this process is going to be something that's not going to happen overnight. Within that process itself for Germany, there are a few steps that I wanted to specifically call out, largely because these are steps that, while we're talking about Germany now, may actually, in most cases, be required in a lot of foreign jurisdictions. You should expect that when you are going through the wind-down process, in most cases, you are going to be required to at least have a shareholders meeting to gain approval for the wind down. There are going to be a lot of documents that need to be completed regarding this wind down. Oftentimes that's going to require signatures by all of the directors. That means both in country, if those are in place, as well as in the U.S. or wherever your the parent company is. You also may need to go through a process of notarization. So those pieces will need to be put in place. Some countries as well will require preparation of public notices, as well as even the filing of an advertisement or a notice within the local newspaper. This actually is largely related to notifying any creditors that may be lingering or feel that they are due some sort of funds from your company. So these are some of the steps in addition to settlement of assets and liabilities within the balance sheets. You also, as we noted previously, you're going to probably have to prepare a set of final accounts and have those audited. And then finally, associated with that, you will have to reconcile all of the tax filings and all of the tax payments associated with your entity through this entire process.